south for a brief period.
Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
Look, yes, everything's okay. What we are, I said, this is a transition period. I think we're going to do fantastically.
Yes, awesome. Okay, so not the most clear crystal ball reading, or maybe it's really a magic 8 ball popping up, cannot predict now. CNN's own economic fortune teller says Wall Street is reading good news in the stars without the data to back it up.
The reality is, we are not seeing yet the data from the tariffs. Until we see that, it's well premature to suggest that sort of it's smooth economic sailing ahead. The stock market is rallying on a hope and a prayer that the worst won't happen.
Well, that hope and a prayer may be coming from this. A statement from China's Commerce Ministry saying it's evaluating messages from the United States about starting trade talks. The Wall Street Journal is also reporting China is weighing how to address Trump's concerns over fentanyl, potentially opening a door to negotiations. Voting for an off-ramp is very different than actually taking an off-ramp. No trade deals have been announced, despite Trump claiming that he has made 200 of them. The market recovery, it may not last if he can't notch a win.
The market's been up because Wall Street knew they're going to have to ultimately take steps back, get deals done, and no one wants a recession. The market is telling all the advisors, whether it's India, you got to get deals on the table now.
And here's the reality. The clock, it is ticking.
Retailers are telling me that they've got about 4 to 6 weeks of normal inventory levels remaining. And that's with the big guys who brought a lot of extra product in to pad those and bring the cost down. So 4 to 6 weeks left. Then after that, if no trade accord or framework is reached, you'll likely see spot shortages. And for those products in demand, the prices will go up.
Price hikes, shortages, and that may just be the start of it. Well, tonight, the footwear industry is telling Trump he's got an emergency on his hands. Tonight, the footwear industry is telling Trump he's got an emergency on his hands. It is pleading to the White House in a public letter, writing hundreds of businesses face the prospect of closure. Tens of thousands of jobs are at stake. Joining me now is Justin Wolfers. He's a professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan. Just the voice we need tonight to explain it all. Justin, welcome back. So I want to get into this short-term recession phenomenon. Is a short-term recession okay, as President Trump seems to intimate?
No. We call them a recession because they're bad. We're against them. Look, a recession means that we make less stuff, but more importantly, it means that people lose work. When people lose work, they lose income, they lose a sense of self-esteem, they lose connection with one of society's most important institutions. With very careful studies of this, it leads to depression, it leads to suicide, it leads people to never work in the same industry again, it harms their earnings for the rest of their lives. This is something we want to avoid.
I'm imagining the domino effect and collateral damage of what you described as well, even beyond that ominous warning. And the president says that some people on Wall Street say that we're going to have the greatest economy in history, and that this is what he calls a transition period. Do you think that we're in a transition period, Justin?
Mate, that's just a man saying words. Yet we're in a transition period. We had a pretty strong economy throughout the entire post-COVID recovery. He took over. He upset markets. He upset small business. He upset big business. He upset trading partners. He upset allies. No one knows what's about to happen. And so we're all sitting nervously wondering, how do you run a US economy when we don't have access to inputs from the rest of the world? None of us really know. It could be a recession. It might not be. But gee, there's a lot to be nervous about.
Help us digest today's jobs numbers. It was higher than expected. Some positive signs, frankly, after real instability, real uncertainty. But what do you say to people who may point to today's numbers as a way to suggest that, look, the jobs numbers are this, so everything's fine?
Right. So Look, there's two hypotheses about the world. One is the US economy is going to keep on keeping on. That might be the White House's view. There's another view, which is we just clobbered it with a baseball bat and everything's going to fall to pieces. Either way, either of those stories tells you that the job market was probably still in very good shape in early April. So therefore, we see numbers saying that the job market was still in very good shape in early April. It doesn't tell us which of these two stories is right. Remember, Liberation Day, the day into the baseball bat to the global economy, was April 2. A lot of these numbers are actually measuring employment at businesses before April 2. So we just haven't found out yet. Patience.
Patience is running out for a lot of people who are wondering whether on Main Street or even to Wall Street, what will happen in the long run. And then you have reporting from CNN that China is now open to trade talks with the United States. And the Wall Street Journal says that Beijing is actually weighing a fentanyl offer to the United States to even start those trade talks. So is the China deal, is that the whole ballgame? Or could some other deals with other countries calm some of the recession forecasts?
Look, the three biggest trading partners that matter for the United States are the Canada, Mexico, and China. The tariff with China is so high, it's effectively cut us off. That causes immense havoc for supply chains. It means, for instance, if you want to retool your factory, you no longer have the option of importing equipment from China. It's a major equipment manufacturer. If your office needs new computers that might be more expensive and so on. Look, the approach we've taken to China here, I'll tell you the truth, it reminds me when I was a 14-year-old boy. When I was 14, there was a girl I liked. And what does a 14-year-old do when there's a girl he likes? He doesn't pick up the phone and call her. During recess, he runs over and punches her and hopes she notices him. Well, that's what we've done. You didn't need to impose a 145% tariff to get President Xi to take a phone call from the most powerful man in the world. He probably would have taken the call even without a trade war. Instead, our president's gone and punched the girl, and he's hoping she calls back.
Well, I've been a 14-year-old girl, and I would have sledged you, partner. Justin Wolfers, nice talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
I want to bring in political strategist and CEO of Relax Strategies, Rena Shah, also Republican strategist Lance Strober, and I'm going to ask both of you all to not pull any punches or throw them tonight. Thank you very much. Lance, I'll begin with you because Trump says the economy will be okay. If there is a short-term recession, you've heard what Justin had to say. Will Americans be okay? You think American voters in particular with the idea of a short-term pain?
Yes, I go back to his analogy of punching the 14-year-old. The difference here is China is our biggest foe. We're not seeking them out. We don't want to have a relationship like that with China. We're not looking to be boyfriend and girlfriend with China. We were talking about they are our biggest economic and our biggest foe on the national stage with national security. So that I understand what he's saying, but this is let's remember, they have been stealing our intellectual property to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. We have a trade imbalance of them to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. We have to do something to right the ship here. And I think that's what the president's been trying to do. And at least he's being honest with folks, saying, yeah, we're in a transition period. There will be a tough time. And I will just point on a political aspect of this. There's an interesting poll from Emerson this week, and CNN had a similar one that said, just a couple weeks ago, 95% of voters wouldn't change their vote from Donald Trump. And so while we may have some uncertainty, that tells me that voters still give him a little bit of leeway, despite his ebb and flow in approval rating.
Does the jobs report, you think, Rena, give him a buffer of sorts and some maybe more runway?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's better than expected. Economists had said 130,000 jobs. He's added nearly 180,000 jobs. Unemployment number has remained unchanged. That to me signals good things. And now he's